Jerusalem. Without doubt, the most revered holy city in the world. With a history stretching back almost 5,000 years, it has been at the epicenter of three of the world's major religions, with Jews, Christians and Muslims each laying claim to the holy city. This has, perhaps unsurprisingly, resulted in Jerusalem being one of the most disputed and fought over places anywhere in the world. The city has been the prized possession of empires, kingdoms, and religious movements over the centuries, leading it to changing hands no fewer than 40 times. The repercussions which have been generated from these long-standing grievances continue to leave their mark on Jerusalem well into the 21st century.
History is not merely what happened, it is what survived, what was curated, erased, and rewritten by those who claimed authority. This story begins in Hebrew soil, captured by Rome, reauthored by Europe, and weaponized through colonial systems that reshaped identity, scripture, and memory. Christ was not Roman. He was a Hebrew from Judah, born in Bethlehem under Roman occupation. After Jerusalem's destruction in 70 CE, Hebrew Christianity lost its center. Rome entered with infrastructure, literacy, and enforcement, defining orthodoxy through imperial councils like Nicaea 325 CE and Chalcedon 451 CE. These were not Hebrew gatherings, but political assemblies. Doctrine stabilized empire, not faith. Hebrew voices were excluded, replaced by Greek metaphysics and Roman law. Christianity emerged Roman in structure, European in image, imperial in spirit. Rome never truly converted. It absorbed Christianity while keeping pagan roots. Constantine still honored Sol Invictus, served as Pontifex Maximus, and minted pagan coins. Catholicism, meaning universal, was a political project to unify empire. Temples became churches, pagan rituals became sacraments, holidays mirrored Saturnalia and fertility rites. Rome rebranded faith to maintain control, not to embrace Hebrew truth. The Europeanized Jesus became a symbol of conquest, an image that justified crusades and colonial expansion.
In 451 AD, on the shores of the Bosporus, nearly 500 bishops crowded into Chalcedon, a city humming with debate. Scrolls, candles, and the echo of chanting filled the air as the church faced its greatest Christological crisis. Was Jesus truly God and truly man, or some blend in between? The council wrestled with the fiery teaching of Eutyches and the authority of Pope Leo's famous tome. After weeks of prayer, argument, and appeals to Scripture and the Fathers, the bishops produced a definition that still shapes Christianity today. Christ is one person in two natures, fully divine and fully human, without confusion or division. This wasn't dry theology. It was the heartbeat of salvation. If Christ is not truly God, he cannot save. If he is not truly human, he cannot heal. Chalcedon safeguarded the mystery of the Incarnation for future generations, and its decision still echoes in Orthodox, Catholic, and Protestant creeds. Picture candles flickering, bishops rising to vote, and the Church declaring with one voice the fullness of Christ. This is the moment the Church defined what it means to call Jesus Lord.
Knowledge itself became imperial currency. By controlling scribes, archives, and education, Rome decided what was preserved and what was forgotten. Greek philosophy replaced Hebrew worldview. Plato shaped Christology, Aristotle doctrine, Roman law hierarchy. For a millennium, church and empire monopolized literacy, defining who Christ was and who counted as chosen. When Europe colonized, it exported not only armies but archives, making Eurocentric Christianity global through enforcement, not accuracy. Empire conquered memory itself.
Every every liturgical service, we declare, we confess, and we profess the Nicene Creed. That was written by 318 church fathers in 325 AD in Nicaea. This is the Universal Council, representing the entire Christian world put together. And back then, there was no Protestants. In the Nicene Creed, clearly it states Mary is the mother of the Logos incarnate. The Logos incarnate is Christ, but the Logos is God. And when he became man, that perfect man, that unity between divinity and humanity is Christ, is the person of Christ.
Today, we explore a pivotal moment in the history of the Roman Empire, the Edict of Milan. This decree marked a milestone in the promotion of religious freedom in the ancient world and left a lasting imprint on history. To understand the Edict of Milan, it's crucial to immerse ourselves in the historical context. We are in the 4th century AD at the height of the Roman Empire under the rule of emperors Constantine and Licinius. For centuries, Christians had faced intermittent persecutions in the Roman Empire. However, the situation began to change when Constantine ascended to the throne and converted to Christianity. On June 13, 313 AD, Constantine and Licinius issued the Edict of Milan in the city of Milan. This edict officially proclaimed religious tolerance in the empire and put an end to the persecution of Christians. The Edict of Milan had a profound impact on history. It not only allowed for the free practice of Christianity, but also paved the way for the rise of Christianity as a dominant religion in the empire.
Even after Christianity's rise, Rome's society remained pagan. Festivals, symbols, and priestly hierarchies persisted. Constantine's monuments honored pagan gods. His empire blended old rituals with new theology. Christmas aligned with Saturnalia, Easter with fertility rites, Lent with purification ceremonies. Rome did not abandon its gods. It elevated one above them. Catholic ritual retained incense, relics, vestments, and calendars from pagan tradition. The European Christ served empire's image. The Judean Messiah was erased. Rome did not convert to Christianity. It converted Christianity into Rome.
In 325 AD, Emperor Constantine decided that Christianity was too unwieldy of a religion. It was too complicated, too mysterious. There were too many moving parts, and it needed to be toned down a little bit, in part to get rid of some of the contradictions. Like, for example, the Trinity. It was driving everybody nuts, right? How does this work? He's what? And so Constantine said, I want 318 of you theologians to go to Nicaea and figure out how to make Christianity into something a little bit more manageable, because if Rome was already majority Christian at that point, if the Roman Empire is going to use Christianity as the state religion to manipulate people, we as the politician class need to be able to know what Christianity is. How can we manipulate people through religion if we don't understand the religion?
Pagan Rome and Papal Rome. Don't be fooled. Rome is one with the devil and represents Satan on earth. Read the history for yourself. It started with pagan Rome, the red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. 10 horns equals 10 kings. When the Roman Empire collapsed, 10 divisions resulted. Barbarian tribes hammered at the Roman Empire for many years until it fell apart and the 10 divisions were ruled by 10 kings. Alemanni, now Germany. The Franks, now France. Burgundians, now Switzerland. The Suevi, now Portugal. The Anglo-Saxons, now Britain. The Visigoths, now Spain. The Lombards, now Italy. The Vandals, Ostrogoths, and Heruli. These last 3 were destroyed by the Pope of Rome because they refused to become Christian, so Satan, through pagan Rome, could not destroy God's people completely. So Satan disguised as an angel of light as Christian Rome or Papal Rome. Pagan Rome, Christian Rome, or Papal Rome are one with the devil.
Into Rome. If empire controls archives, scholars control the future. During Europe's Dark Ages, the Moors and Abbasid Caliphate preserved and expanded global knowledge. In Al-Andalus, Moorish scholars built libraries, universities, and observatories, translating Greek, Hebrew, and Indian works. Medicine, mathematics, and astronomy flourished. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad united Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and African scholars who corrected Greek errors and advanced science. Europe's Renaissance was a transfer of knowledge from Africa and the Islamic world, not a miracle of rediscovery. Western civilization inherited, not originated, the wisdom it claimed.
What made the Abbasid Caliphate the beacon of a golden age? Let's dive into their extraordinary legacy. Ruling from 750 to 1258 CE, the Abbasids transformed the Islamic world into a hub of science, art, and culture. Their capital, Baghdad, housed the House of Wisdom, where scholars from all backgrounds translated ancient texts and made groundbreaking discoveries in math, medicine, and astronomy. They pioneered algebra, advanced medical practices, and even developed early robotics. But it wasn't just science. Poetry, literature, and architecture flourished too. This unparalleled era of innovation inspired civilizations far beyond their borders. Yet internal strife and the Mongol invasion eventually ended their reign.
Language became empire's weapon. Terms like Jew, Yehudi shifted through exile, translation, and politics, expanding far beyond its Hebrew lineage. The Table of Nations in Genesis 10, once geographic, was reinterpreted by Europeans as racial hierarchy. Shem equals Semitic, Ham equals African, Japheth equals European. The curse of Ham myth justified slavery and colonialism. Advanced African civilizations, Kush, Mizraim, Canaan, were recast as cursed. Identity was mediated by censuses, councils, and racial laws. Europe's filter reclassified Hebrews as white Semites, Egyptians as Mediterranean Caucasoids, and indigenous Americans as Mongoloid. When empire names you, empire claims you, erasure through definition.
Let's talk about a popular belief that's not in the Bible, that Japheth was white from Europe, Shem was olive or brown from Asia, and Ham was black from Africa. People repeat it like it's scripture, but it's not. And many people actually believe it's in scripture, but it's not. This racial division came during colonization and slavery. European powers used paintings, maps, and false theology to convince the world that Noah's sons represented 3 different races. Let's look at the Book of Jubilees. The Book of Jubilees expands on Genesis and says, Japheth's land is described as cold. The northern regions, like Europe and the poles, are obvious. Ham's land is called hot. But Africa is not all hot. That's a myth. Sub-Saharan Africa is mostly blended, not extreme heat. There are cool highlands, snow-capped mountains, real temperate zones. Meanwhile, the Middle East and North Africa are some of the hottest regions on the earth. What about Shem? Shem's land is called blended, not scorching or freezing, but giving Shem all of Asia, including frozen Siberia, doesn't match that description at all. Blended regions, moderate climates exist all over the world, from parts of Africa to the Americas. And teaching that Canaan was cursed with black skin, also completely false. The Bible never says that. The curse was about servitude, to be a servant of servants, not skin color, and it was twisted later to justify oppression, also expanded to all of the children of Ham. It's time to let go of the racist ideologies embedded in how we've been taught to read the Bible. The Bible holds a great deal of truth, but we can't see it clearly if we're still viewing it through a whitewashed lens. This ancient book requires us to take on the mindset of a child, to lay down the assumptions we've inherited, and to humbly seek the truth that's been hidden in plain sight.
Classification controls the body. Dark-complexioned indigenous nations were systematically reclassified as colored or Negro. Virginia's Racial Integrity Act 1924 and Walter Plecker's policies erased Native identity on paper. Paper genocide. Afro-Indigenous peoples lost land, sovereignty, and treaty rights by bureaucratic renaming. The term African American became a catch-all burying indigenous ancestry. Millions of native descendants were never told their true lineage. This misclassification still affects reparations, enrollment, and belonging. The Americas were never empty nor racially simple, but home to diverse olive and bronze-complexioned nations whose erasure was strategic. Recovering their story is restoration, not revision. From Hebrew prophets to Roman emperors, Moorish scholars to misclassified natives, the through line is power's control over memory. Empire rewrote faith, race, and identity to serve itself. To unwhitewash history is to reclaim the archive, the language, and the body, restoring truth to those written out of it.
The reclassification of Negro Indians in early Virginia is a deeply troubling aspect of American history, driven by discriminatory laws and a desire to establish rigid racial hierarchies. While the term itself acknowledges the historical intermingling of African and Native American peoples, the official reclassification was a deliberate act of erasure, particularly in the early 20th century. Virginia's legal system had a long history of defining race, with colonial laws often equating Negro with slave. Over time, these definitions became increasingly stringent. A pivotal moment arrived with the Racial Integrity Act of 1924, a piece of legislation designed to uphold white racial purity and outlaw interracial marriage. This act declared a white person to be someone who has no trace whatsoever of any blood other than Caucasian. The driving force behind this act was Walter Plecker, the registrar of the Virginia Bureau of Vital Statistics. Plecker, a staunch eugenicist and white supremacist, used his authority to systematically reclassify hundreds of Virginia Indians as Negro on official documents, sometimes retroactively to the 1850s. He operated under the belief that real Indians had vanished, and that any remaining indigenous people were likely Negroes in feathers. Plecker's policies forced state agencies to reclassify individuals claiming Indian identity as colored. The 1930 Revised Racial Integrity Act further solidified this, making it easier to deny Native identity to anyone with even a one drop of Black ancestry. This bureaucratic process, often referred to as paper genocide, had devastating and long-lasting consequences for Virginia's indigenous communities. It created immense difficulties for them to prove their ancestral lineage, hindering their efforts to gain federal recognition. Families were torn apart, and their indigenous identities were systematically erased through racist administrative actions. The Racial Integrity Act remained in force until 1967, when the U.S. Supreme Court, in the landmark case of Loving v. Virginia, finally overturned its prohibition on interracial marriage. In 2001, the Virginia General Assembly officially condemned the act as racist.
That I will never let anybody else live inside this heart of mine. In this heart of mine, she tore right through me, left handprints where I bled. Can't stop the voices in my head. Left me out to dry. I guess that's alright. So paint me as the bad guy. Paint me as the bad guy. Like my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad.